Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for all my continued followers, I want to say thank you. And this is an opinion-based video channel where I try to open your eyes and ears up to some of the travails and tribulations that take place throughout our cities, our states, our country, and sometimes around the world. This one I got from you is coming straight out of St. Louis, Missouri. Well, where a recent trial over Aldermanic President Megan Green when in 2017, where she had got tear gassed in the Central West End. She filed a lawsuit against the city of St. Louis, along with several other people, protesters. This protest was all about, if you all remember, a white male police officer, Jason Stockley, who was found not guilty for shooting and killing a black citizen named Anthony Lamar Smith. So Aldermanic President Megan Green protested, many others protested. She got tear gassed. A black undercover police officer who was doing surveillance during the protesting, Luther Hall, he got beat up by his own colleagues, his own police officers that he worked with. He was undercover. He got beat up, and then he sued the city. And as a result, the city of St. Louis has paid out more than $11 million over its heavy-handed response to the protest over police brutality back in September of 2017. So not only did we have this issue with Jason Stockley and the innocent individual, the black guy named Anthony Lamar Smith. But remember, we also had the Michael Brown situation that took place in St. Louis County and Ferguson. So police brutality has been an issue in the city, in the St. Louis metropolitan area. And now we got this, we have these multi-million-dollar lawsuits that are taking place, and they're getting judgments against St. Louis City, and the coffers are going to have to pay up. By the way, also, we need to continue to put pressure on St. Louis City Hall, St. Louis City government, to help in this tornado relief from last year of May 16th. Nothing has been done in North City. People are suffering, and if they have money to pay out for police brutality lawsuits in the millions, let's release some of this money to help restore North St. Louis and the central corridor, the Central West End of St. Louis that got heavily decimated by the tornado. Where is the tornado relief fund money? We're not seeing it. So let's get into it. So the trial over Aldermanic President's 2017 tear gassing gets underway. The city of St. Louis has paid out more than $11 million over its heavy-handed response to protest over police brutality back in 2017. The city of St. Louis continues to pay for its heavy-handed response to anti-police protest in 2017, with the last major lawsuit over that response going to trial, went to trial within the last month. The city has paid out at least $11 million over its actions in just 3 days in September of 2017. It's almost 10 years ago, with another settlement that's going to take place here soon. In September 2017, if you remember, multiple days of unrest followed St. Louis officer Jason Stockley after he was found not guilty of murder in the shooting death of Anthony Lamar Smith. Jason Stockley, white male police officer, Anthony Lamar Smith, black pedestrian, black taxpaying citizen. So protesters lobbed projectiles at police and broke storefront windows, but the police pepper sprayed dozens of peaceful protesters as well as other people who just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. The police rounded up more than 100 in a mass arrest. Both a well-known preacher and a Post-Dispatch reporter were pepper sprayed and roughed up. An undercover cop was beaten by police officers as well, a black undercover cop. The city took a major step a few weeks ago in settling a lawsuit brought by Alderman Rasheen Aldridge, and three others who were pepper sprayed during the protest. The amount of the settlement has not been made public, although paperwork filed Friday indicates the settlement will be finalized in the next 45 days, and then it generally becomes public record. Another lawsuit stemming from the same protest is going on trial again here within the last few weeks, where Aldermanic President Megan Green claims in her lawsuit that on the night of September 15, 2017, she was one of hundreds of people protesting in the Central West End when police began indiscriminately firing tear gas as if it's some kind of war or riot, not just a peaceful protest. They were doing a peaceful protest, but they're firing tear gas like it's a riot or a war. That was egregious and way too aggressive for the police to fire tear gas at innocent individuals making a civil protest in a civil organized way. Remember, we have First Amendment rights. She sought refuge in the Central Reformed Congregation Synagogue on Kings Highway. An hour and a half later, as she made her way to her car, she again saw police fire tear gas at random people, including her on the street. She said she was hit with tear gas near Lindell, and the ill effects lingered for months. Megan Green, the aldermanic president for the city of St. Louis, alleges assault and battery, and that in addition to the dozens of officers who are named as defendants, then interim police chief Lawrence O'Toole said he holds vicarious liability for the conduct of his officers. Green is seeking monetary damages in the case, but says every dime awarded. Guess what she said? Now remember, this is the aldermanic president of St. Louis. She says if she gets a judgment and it gets the money awarded in her tear gas case, she says she is going to award and give every dime awarded to her to the city's tornado relief efforts. Now we should applaud that, because the city of St. Louis has done nothing for North St. Louis. Jury selection had kicked off on a Monday with opening arguments expected on that next day on a Tuesday. The jury selection phase featured the standard questions to put potential jurors about biases toward or against police officers. But they also asked about potential biases vis-a-vis about Megan Green, the aldermanic president. One potential juror says she had worked on two of Green's campaigns and would have difficulty being unbiased, so she got removed from the jury pool. In brief remarks to the media during a break, Megan Green and her attorney, Javad Kazali, said that she is bringing this suit because the city's police force has not begun implementing new policies that they said they would follow as part of a consent decree that followed widespread protests after the 2014 shooting death of Mike Brown. So you got 2014, the shooting death of Mike Brown, and then you have 2017, the shooting death of Mr. Anthony Lamar Smith. Created a lot of chaos and disruption in St. Louis City and St. Louis County. And this is important when you listen to what Megan Green's attorney said. I tell you all the time, pay attention to the city and your state laws. They affect you way more than your federal laws. So both Attorney Kazali and Megan Green say that changes need to be made to the city's unlawful assembly ordinance. Here we go, legislation and laws. The unlawful assembly ordinance, which they say is too broad and has been found unconstitutional in federal court. Read your laws. Put pressure on your legislators, your politicians, your local politicians. You can just basically call anything an unlawful assembly, Attorney Kazali said. This, to Attorney Kazali and to Megan Green's minds, essentially lets police short-circuit freedom of speech and assemblies protections by being able to declare any gathering unlawful. Now remember, this is about our U.S. Constitution and our First Amendment. Green says she asked the city councilor's office to implement changes to the ordinance as has been done in other cities, but the legal arm of the city has refused. That's why she's doing it. If they're not willing to listen to federal courts, if they're not listening to their own rules, eventually they're going to have to listen to jurors. That's where the lawsuit comes in. Depending on the trial, how the trial shakes out, Green's lawsuit may or may not add to the city's growing tab stemming from police actions in September of 2017. The lion's share of the $11 million that the city has paid out, is going to pay, has already paid out $11 million. Thus far comes from two settlements. One paid to an undercover black officer beaten by his own colleagues, and another to several dozen people who were rounded up in mass kettling arrest and pepper sprayed. In February 2021, the city settled with former police officer Luther Hall for around $5 million. Hall was working undercover on the night of September 17, 2017, when he was beaten badly by his own fellow officers who failed to recognize him as one of their own. The kettling settlement, finalized 2 years later, stemmed from a class action lawsuit brought by 84 people who, on the same night as Hall was beaten, were at Washington Avenue and North Tucker when the police gave them an order to disperse. However, the protesters, as well as a few people just in the wrong place at the wrong time, were prevented from doing so by a wall of police on every side, leaving no way to egress. It was settled for about $5 million in January 2023. There have been at least 5 other Officer Stokely-related lawsuits, many with multiple plaintiffs, that have settled for smaller sums ranging from $60,000 to $235,000. There have been hundreds of protests in St. Louis, Attorney Kazali said. The only time the citizens get their asses kicked is when they're protesting the cops. You can protest Donald Trump, you can protest Roe versus Wade, fine. But the moment you say anything about how bad cops are, then there's hell to pay. So back in April of 2018, when many of the Stokely-related lawsuits were just starting to work their way through the courts, then City Councilor Julian Bush was asked about the anticipated cost to the city's coffers. People have brought claims, but these claims were only kept in custody a day. We're not anticipating large payouts. But he's wrong, because the city has already paid out over $11 million, and there's several other lawsuits waiting in the wings. Tell me what you think about this story in St. Louis.